Could we be on the brink of a major shakeup for the Vancouver Canucks? Recent chatter suggests a bold trade scenario involving a beloved player, and it might just change the landscape of our roster. Are we ready to see a familiar face return to the team? Stick around to find out all the details and what this could mean for our future. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button to stay updated on all things Canucks. There's been some buzz lately about a potential trade scenario involving Peton Miller from the Vancouver Canucks, and I have to say, it's quite the intriguing proposition. Former NHL assistant GM Steve Warrior laid out a three-way trade that could shake things up for the Canucks, along with the New York Rangers and the Detroit Red Wings. It's a bold move that could redefine the rosters of all three teams. In this hypothetical trade, we see some significant names on the move. The Canucks would send Peton Miller back to the Rangers, the very team that originally drafted him, while receiving JT Compher from the Red Wings, along with Ryan Lindgren and some draft picks. For Vancouver, this could mean JT Compher, who has 4 years left on a contract with an AAV of $5.1 million, and Ryan Lindgren, whose deal is up soon, plus a couple of valuable draft picks. It's a strategy that could give the Canucks some much-needed flexibility moving forward. But let's not overlook the implications of moving Miller. He's been a key player for the Canucks, making $8 million a year until 2030, and there's certainly an emotional attachment there. As fans, we have to weigh whether getting Compher and Lindgren is worth parting with a player who has been such a pivotal part of our lineup. I mean, would you believe it? We're talking about losing a player who's not just a scorer, but a leader on and off the ice. Now, Warrior pointed out that Miller has a no-trade clause that could complicate things. That's something to consider. Would he even be willing to waive that? And if he does, how does that affect the team chemistry? We all remember how difficult it can be to adjust to new players mid-season. It's a gamble, one that could either pay off or backfire spectacularly. Looking at the Rangers' side, they would be receiving Miller and potentially strengthening their playoff chances. But for us, the real question is, does this trade strengthen Vancouver's future prospects? The addition of Compher and Lindgren could indeed help fill gaps that have been evident in our defensive and offensive lines. But is it enough? I honestly find myself a bit torn on this. Sure, the draft picks are enticing, and having some cap flexibility could be beneficial in the long run, especially if we're looking to rebuild while staying competitive. But can we really afford to lose a talent like Miller? And what about our fans? How do you all feel about this potential trade? Are you excited about the prospects of new blood in the lineup, or do you think it's too high a price to pay? I want to know your thoughts on this. Do you believe this is the right path for the Canucks, or do you think we should hold on to Miller and see how the season unfolds? This is a crucial time for our franchise, and your opinions matter. So, let's open up this discussion. I want to hear your expectations, frustrations, and any thoughts you have about how this trade could play out. Is bringing in Compher and Lindgren worth the sacrifice of Miller? This could change the trajectory of our season, and I genuinely want to know where you stand. As we dive into the current state of the Vancouver Canucks, it's clear that we're at a pivotal moment in the season. Sitting precariously in that wild card spot with 41 points, the Canucks have shown flashes of brilliance, but also moments of uncertainty. With stars like Elias Pettersson and JT Miller on the roster, you'd think we'd be feeling more secure. But there's a lot to unpack here. On one hand, I can't help but feel optimistic. When Pettersson and Miller are on their game, they can light up the scoreboard and create opportunities that leave opponents scrambling. And let's not forget about Thatcher Demko. He's shown us glimpses of elite goaltending, which is critical if we're going to withstand the pressure of playoff contention. The potential is there, folks. The talent is undeniable. But, and this is a big but, their style of play has been inconsistent. One night they look like world beaters, and the next, they seem to falter under pressure. Now, let's address the elephant in the room. The reported turbulence between Pettersson and Miller. If their chemistry is shaken, it could spell disaster for a team that's already facing enough challenges. Hockey is as much about teamwork as it is about individual talent, and any discord could lead to a downward spiral. We need these guys to gel if we're going to have any hope of securing a playoff berth. Defensively, there's no sugarcoating it. Things need to change. With an average of 3.12 goals against per game, we rank amongst the worst in the league. That's alarming, especially when you compare us to teams like Colorado who, despite their defensive lapses, can outscore their problems. Our offensive output of 3.15 goals per game isn't enough to mask those defensive issues. We need to tighten up, and fast. Looking ahead, we have a brutal schedule coming up. 5 straight games on the road, followed by a 6-game trip later in March. That's a daunting task. Facing playoff-caliber teams like Vegas, Dallas, and Minnesota, we can't afford to take a single night off. Every game is a must-win from here on out. The pressure is mounting, and our goalies need to be rock solid. If we can't defend our net, we won't be celebrating in the postseason. So, will the Canucks hold on to that playoff spot? Honestly, it's a bit of a coin toss right now. The potential is definitely there, but the path to success is steep. If they can regain their cohesion and shore up that defense, we just might see them battling it out in the playoffs. But if they stumble, we could be looking at yet another offseason filled with what-ifs and could-have-beens. Now, I want to hear from you, the fans. Do you believe this is the right path forward for the Canucks? I'm honestly torn. On one hand, I see the talent and the potential. On the other, I worry about the internal dynamics and that shaky defense. What are your thoughts? Let's get a conversation going in the comments below. What are your expectations for this team as we head into the second half of the season? And before you go, make sure to like this video, share it with your fellow Canucks fans, and subscribe to the channel for all the latest updates. Don't forget to hit that notification bell so you don't miss a thing. Thanks for tuning in. I can't wait to see where this season takes us.